Humans aren't walking around going, I want to have tough conversations. I want to master tough conversations. Most people aren't walking around saying that. Again, we're creatures of comfort. So just like most people aren't walking around saying, I really want to grow as a person. What they're saying is, I want what I want. I want my life to be better. I know after 20 years of doing this that growth is the way to get there, and tough conversations are another doorway, a specific doorway that you can get there. But I just want to make that point that I understand that most people aren't walking around going, I really want to have tough conversations. But when they bring a problem to me, we often find that a tough conversation is the way out.
Hey, it's Rocky. Welcome to Richer Soul. Today's guest is David Wood, who helps us to have the tough conversations we need to have in life. Intro music, intro paragraph. Imagine it's 12 months from now, and you've achieved your major life goals. How does it feel to be in the best shape of your life? To wake up energized, excited about the day? To have great relationships and friends who support you and propel you forward? How does it feel to have an excess of money, to be able to make the choices you want? To be fearless and open to trying new adventures? Imagine being connected to the universe and it providing everything you desire. It's possible over time, and your past does not dictate your future. The only thing holding you back from this vision is you. It's time to take control of our thoughts and use them to our advantage. Welcome to Richer Soul, where we achieve our dreams and bring balance to health, wealth, relationships, time, and spirituality. If you have not had a chance to listen to episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework behind Richer Soul and how to create the life of your dreams. You can also find all the show notes for this episode at richersoul.com. While you're there, you can sign up for a monthly email where I share the best articles I read this month, let you know about upcoming episodes, and share a little wisdom. You can also listen to coaching calls under the Coaching Calls tab. I also share the most interesting articles I read every week on Facebook at facebook.com/Richer Soul. And there's also a Facebook group where you can ask questions and interact with other listeners. Today's quote is from Alan Watts. In the same way that a knife can cut everything but itself, or a fire can burn everything but itself, the mind can know everything but itself. Like an eye can see everything but itself. We need to take the time to look at ourselves and get out of our mind. That's not easy. And that's why having help is so important. I recently read Beyond Wealth, The Roadmap to a Rich Life. And I just want to share a paragraph. It's important to have goals to work towards, of course. But according to the Dalai Lama, once our basic needs are met, we don't necessarily need more money, we don't need greater success or fame, we don't need the perfect body or even the perfect mate right now. At this very moment, we have a mind, which is all the basic equipment we need to achieve complete happiness. Buddhism teaches that contentment is determined more by your state of mind than by external circumstances. Many of us fail to recognize how much our happiness is determined by the way we choose to perceive our situation. And the solution is often let go. Knowledge is learning something every day. Wisdom is letting go of something every day. To be free from delusions, fear, ignorance, pride, anger, envy, and hatred is to be free from suffering. It's not easy to let go. It's not easy to have conversations. We're going to dig into those today, and hopefully over time, we'll figure these things out. Last week's action step was to look at your life and ask, what is the meaning and focus of my life? Do you know your answer yet? I do. My focus is to serve God, my family, and community, and help them achieve financial and time freedom. It's really that simple. It helps me to understand where I should spend my time and my energy. Our guest today is someone who also helps people. After a life as a consulting actuary to a Fortune 100 company on Park Avenue, David built the world's largest coaching business, becoming #1 on Google for life coaching and coaching thousands of hours in 12 countries around the globe. As well as helping others, David is no stranger to overcoming challenges himself. Overcoming a full collapse of his paraglider and a fractured spine, witnessing the death of his sister at age 7, anxiety and depression, and National Gong Show. He coaches high-performance entrepreneurs, executives, teams, and now prison inmates to create amazing results and deep connection, one tough conversation at a time. Let's meet our guest. Welcome to Richer Soul, David Wood. It's great to have you join us today.
Hey, thank you. I'm excited about this. I love the whole theme of your podcast, which is like, how do you have life be awesome? You know, what else is there beside money? So I'm excited for this.
And I'm excited for the conversation. You've got a lot of wisdom that I'm looking forward to learning about.
Thanks, Rocky.
So we always start at the beginning. What was it like when you were growing up, and how much did your family and school teach you about money?
I'd say I was pretty middle of the road. We weren't wealthy, but I didn't have holes in my clothes. So money never really occurred to me as much of an issue. I got some pocket money, $15 a week. I think I got at one point to mow the lawn and do a whole bunch of chores. And yeah, you know, my parents might say, oh, we can't afford that, or you were not made of money. But we were middle class.
And did you learn any money skills from them or from school at all?
Well, I'm laughing because I can't think of any. Okay, one thing I got from my parents was cars are expensive. Cars cost more than you think. So I remember that. That stuck with me. I never really got a savings plan going. They didn't encourage me to invest in real estate. Like, these are some of the things I think I would have appreciated. They did have a friend who was willing to maybe help me learn about the stock market. And I invested in a blue chip stock when I was a teenager. But they really just sent me some annual reports of companies and said, read these. So I don't know that I learned much from my parents at all, except be frugal. And I got very lucky in that when it was time to go to college, like over here in the US, I'm from Australia, and in the US, it's hugely expensive to go to universities. And I know people with loans of $200,000, which just boggles the mind for me. For me, firstly, when I was 18, university was free. And then on top of that, I applied to get a scholarship to go to university, to go to a free university. And I got paid $10,000. What was it? Maybe it was, I don't know if it was every 6 months or a year or whatever, but it was a lot of money for me. And that helped me with my living expenses. So my parents didn't actually have to pay for anything since the age of 18 when I moved out of home and went to college.
That's impressive. I know I've got one in college and one about to go, and those are the conversations of the expense of college and making the right choices and making sure that the investment you're making is worth the outcome that you're going to get. And if it's not, don't make that investment. Make a different decision.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I was very, very, I guess it's a privilege or lucky or skill that since the age of 18, I've been self-sufficient.
So how did that happen? You got out of college, you got started in life, and did you just self-teach yourself about money, or was it just...
Well, I wish someone else actually had taught me about money. And the things I wish I'd known is about getting into real estate early. I wish I'd done that, because it just keeps growing and growing, expanding, and there's the whole leverage effect. It took me a long time to kind of get that. Self-taught. I seem to have an instinct. So I don't budget. I don't like budgeting. I just have an instinct that it's time to tighten up and not spend, not even pay rent, or no, it's okay. I can invest in this. This is going to make sense long term. And I'm making decisions even daily. Today, I'm making decisions about, do I tighten up or is it time to invest? And I've done that all myself. I don't even tend to. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, which was good, but I don't tend to do courses. And then, fortunately, I got to work for a consulting company over in New York, and I got paid well. So the first 4 or 5 years of my professional life were pretty easy. After that, I quit and I went to work for myself, and I've been working for myself for maybe 25 years now, or 20 years. And I've definitely had to learn more about money to stay afloat.
So why did you decide to quit and go out on your own?
Well, there are a number of factors. One factor was I did a personal growth course and realized that there's more to life than money. So I was doing well as a consulting to Sony Music and Ford and Exxon and some really big companies. And I was like 23, 4, 25. But I did this personal growth course and they cracked me open. They cracked my heart open. And I realized that they really cared about the world and they cared about people. They weren't just preying on self-help junkies. And I'm like, wow, like what's possible now? So I decided I wanted to work with people about people stuff, not just money. I'm great at systems and business and finance, and my clients use me to bounce ideas and strategize for their career and their businesses. But I don't like to work with people if it's just that. I say, let's handle the business stuff, but how's your life? How are your connections with people? How's your heart? How's your authenticity, your truth? How's your daring? And how's your caring? So I saw the possibility of that when I did this personal growth course. And then I also wasn't that happy in New York. I felt like I didn't have a lot of friends, and I thought I'd be happier back in Australia. So I quit, and I just said, I'll give myself 6 months to do whatever I want. Because whenever you change jobs, I think it's a great opportunity to take advantage of that. And so I actually got a singing lesson and bought some speakers and a guitar, and I started being an entertainer, a one-man band actually, in pubs and parties. And I did that for 6 months, and then I found my way to coaching, and I was like, wow, okay, this is what I want to do maybe for the rest of my life.
That's impressive. Just out of curiosity, what was that self-development program that you attended?
Landmark Education is the company.
And I've heard of them, and I know some people who've gone through it, and I've heard it's quite impressive. So I guess that's probably on my list for this year. It's one of the things that I've thought about, and I was doing some other different things, and so I haven't had the time to do that one, but I think it's probably time to try that out as well.
Well, you talked about investment earlier, Rocky, and you got to look at the upside and look at the risk and say, is it worth my investment? So same with doing the Landmark Forum. Is it worth 2 or 3 days of your time and the $800 or whatever they're charging now to do it? The way I used to be an actuary, right? I was a consulting actuary. So my job was to look at risk. And to me, there's a chance, maybe a 20% chance you'll get nothing out of it and feel like you wasted your time. Plus, you didn't have a good time. So you really wasted your time. Maybe there's a chance, right? Maybe it's 10% chance. But I figure there's maybe a 50% chance, which is pretty high, 50% chance that your life will change and not be the same after doing this course. It's that strong. And I've done personal growth since then. I've done 20 years of personal growth and courses and sat with gurus and teachers. I don't know that I've found anything that's been as strong and powerful in changing people's embedded, entrenched behavior. So to me, it's a no-brainer investment. Take the risk, roll the dice with your life. And, if I could find more bets like that, I would take them every day.
I heard about it a few years ago, and I ended up doing a different program. And then I guess I kind of forgot about it for a while. And then now that you've reminded me, I need to go back and relook at it. The time and the money are easy. It's not a hard decision. And the worst outcome that I come away with is, hey, that was nice, but it wasn't for me. And that's okay.
Exactly.
I'm constantly investing in myself. So I don't mind doing that at all. I have to get it on the list.
And I realize I'm biased. I want, as my life has gotten better, because I discovered personal growth and we'll call it up-leveling life at the age of 26. I'm biased towards that. I want everybody to be investing in their life and enjoyment. I don't want them to wait until their deathbed to say what so many people say. I wish I'd been more deeply connected. I wish I'd spoken more of my truth. I wish I'd gone for what I really wanted. I wish I'd been more daring. I don't want people to wait for that. I want them to have those realizations now. I believe landmark education is one way to access that. I mean, let's talk about the mild ways. The mild ways, you listen to podcasts, you read books, you just keep upskilling, you surround yourself with people who are happy and they're constantly growing. These are smart things to do. But if you really want to generate change, I'm biased towards doing a course where you immerse yourself or having your own private coach, someone who's going to, and obviously I'm a coach, right? And it might be one of the reasons I'm biased towards it, but someone who's going to call you out when you're missing something.
And I totally agree with that. I've done all of those different things and had my own personal coach and attended different programs and tons of different experiences. So
yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm preaching to the choir.
That you are. So let's just chat about that. I went on your website and there was a video that I watched, and you basically say 90% of people die with regrets and that you work with the other 10%. Why do so many people die with regrets?
The first thing that comes up when you ask that, and I don't know that I've been asked that before. It's a great question. I think we're creatures of habit. We're creatures of habit and creatures of comfort. And that's fine. That the ego has a survive. So, for example, if there's a tough conversation with our partner, we might avoid that because we don't want to rock the boat. Now, that's going to lead to regret. But we do that because we want to be comfortable. And we know what we know. So we go about our patterns and we live our life. And then for some people, it takes a life-threatening situation or a near-death experience for them to go, my God, what am I doing? Or they do a course like Landmark, or they get a coach and they get challenged and go, wait, look at my patterns. It's hard to see your patterns. If you ask a fish, how's the water? The fish might respond, what water? So we can't, as Landmark says, you don't know what you don't know. And then it's not until a near-death experience or you're actually about to die, which I guess we could call a near-death experience, when people go, oh, wait a minute, I've got no more chances. This is it. This is over. And then they reflect and go, damn it, here's what I could have done. And I say, let's have those conversations earlier. Let's have them now. Let's really look at how you can suck the juice out of the orange and get the most out of life now so that you're not surprised on your deathbed. On your deathbed, you can go, you know what? I really played this game well. I really gave it everything.
And that's cool. I know for myself, because I asked myself that question, what regrets would I have? And at this point, I have zero regrets. The only regret I would have of dying today is that I wasn't here longer with my kids. You know, they're still teenagers, to watch them start their families and help them and do that. So it's not a regret of something I haven't done. It's just a regret of leaving them early.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're asking yourself that question. That's powerful. What regrets would I have if I died today? I encourage every listener to write that down and reflect on that and see what you come up with. If you come up with nothing, then you're rocking it. That's great. There still might be blind spots and things you haven't realized, but I think that's wonderful. I think for many people, if they died today, there'd be things unsaid. There'd be things that they wish they'd said to people, probably telling people, I love you more often. There might be something in terms of self-expression. I wish I'd been more of me. I wish I'd be more of a leader. I mean, there's so many. Let's just see what comes up if you get a piece of paper and a pen.
And that's a powerful exercise. You've got to take time, stop, turn everything off, be still, and maybe take an hour and go through that and keep revisiting it. It's not something you do once and you walk away from. You have to constantly ask yourself those questions and constantly come back to it. And I think that's why morning routines are so powerful, because you create the time and space to constantly grow and think and do the introspectives to say, is this everything I want today? And what is it that I want to get out of life?
Yeah. And hearing that, I just got excited because I realized this is one of this changeability, the idea that things aren't static and you need to keep asking yourself that question. That's something that makes coaching so interesting and exciting. Because when my clients first come to me, there's a seed of something they want. Like maybe there's a problem that they're not focused enough and they get scattered and they want to be laser focused on their business or career. Or there might be issues they're having with their partner or their kids or at work. They want to develop their leadership. They've got something they know, but there could be 10 things that they don't know yet. And as we work together and they keep asking themselves these questions, which they have to, because each week there's a self-coaching form that they need to fill in, new things come up. And I find that exciting as we uncover what some of their deeper desires are.
And that's a big part of what I do, too. We talk about harmony in all areas of life, because if one area is out of balance, it will drag down the entire rest of your life. And so we need to make sure that you're in harmony. And so I'm constantly probing my coaching clients to say, well, you said this and you're doing that. There's incongruence between your words and your actions. And what do you truly want to do? And it kind of forces them to go back. One of the biggest things that I make sure that everyone has is a life plan, because if you don't have a plan for your life, you don't have that clear vision. And I think you talk a lot about that as well, right? The reasons that people don't have success is having a clear vision, having a plan, right? And then actually acting on your plan, go do the work. And then I think you've got even more to add to that.
Yeah. And firstly, let me preface it by saying, I don't think it's wrong to not have a plan, right? I'm not one of these coaches that says this is the right way to do it and this is the wrong way to do it. If you're happy cruising through life, that's one valid strategy. In fact, particularly if you can surrender and just enjoy what comes, like Byron Katie, for example, then that's great. You don't need a plan. But if you have desires and you want to play the game of how do I create things in time and space, which is a game I like to play, and I think most people do. They're like, how do I have more money? How do I have more love? How do I really enjoy this life? Then I think it makes sense. So I identified 4 very simple things that many people are not doing. And as you listen to these, you may find that you're doing 2 or 3 of them, but circle the one that you're not doing. That might be where the low-hanging fruit is for you. So the first one is real goals. Do you have goals that light you up? And they exist in time and space, right? By this time, I want to have this. That can be wonderful. Whether or not you achieve the goals, how wonderful to have a direction and just be clear. Each day when you wake up, you know where you're heading. I think that's great. And then secondly, some people have real goals, but they don't have a real plan. They haven't sat down and said, this is what this is what has to happen each month for me to get to this goal at the end of the year. I need to do this. And then maybe even this is what happens each week. And then, all right, each day this week, these are my targets. You don't have to actually follow them all or meet them all. But if you really care about generating results, this is common sense to me. And then the third step, which is where a lot of people fall down, are you taking real action? Now, I believe the mind is like a monkey on crack. The human mind, it's just incredible. We sit down and we're going to do that important thing today, assuming that you've set your real goals and you've got a real plan, then you know what you're going to do today. But even if you've gotten that far, which most people don't, there's Facebook. Oh, look, I got a message. All right, let me get back to this business plan. Oh, there's a text message. I'll just look at it. All right, I'm not going to respond to him right now. I'll go back. You just lowered your IQ for 15 minutes. You just lowered your IQ because your mind is still retaining that text, and a small part of your brain is still holding that. And then you get back to it. Oops, there's an email ding. You go and check email. Now you're lost. The next 30 minutes at least is going to be just responding to emails that probably not nearly as important as the thing that you said you were going to do today. And we haven't even gotten to people knocking on your door or coming into your office or a kid coming or whatever. So it's incredible. Humans have amazing potential of what we can produce, but the mind is like a monkey on crack. So most people are not taking real action, and it's not complicated to shift that. It's not easy. Most of my clients, it takes them a few weeks to build the new habits to where they've got focused blocks of time and they're actually cranking it out on the things that are going to move the needle in their life and their business. Just imagine that. If you became that and you were laser focused on the things that matter, what could you produce? You'd be a superhuman.
It's incredible, and it's not hard. And what I do is on my calendar, I put my tasks that are most important to do that day. And so they create the time block in the calendar to say, I need to do these things. And I can look at the whole week. I go, oh, there's a hole right there. I have this to accomplish this week. And I will literally put the time block in there for the week. And when the time comes, I work on it. Now, does it all happen perfectly, as you said? No, it doesn't. Sometimes I have to move time blocks. Sometimes things interfere with life. But the point is, the block just gets moved and it gets done tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
I have a slightly different point of view. Well, I have a different point of view. I think it is hard. I think it's not complex to do it, right? It's simple. The things that you need to do to have focused action. But I think it is hard. My clients find it hard because here's what happens. We'll come up with a plan for some things they can practice. And so first thing they do is they'll, the night before their alarm goes off, or at 5 p.m. the day before their alarm goes off, set your targets for tomorrow. So they come up with 2 critical things that are the most important things to achieve tomorrow. Okay, great. Then in the morning, they've got their time blocked off, and they sit down to do their work, and they get derailed. They get derailed because their computer notifications are on, or their phone was turned on, or they hadn't told their wife yet that this is focus time, and their kids. They hadn't set it up properly. And so they go off the rails, and they come back the next week, and we have our session, and we talk about it. Where'd you go off the rails? Okay, what do you need to do to get back on track? Okay, wow, I didn't realize I really have to, when I open up my email, because I have to send an email, I should click on the sent tray instead of the inbox. I should click on the sent box so I'm not going to be distracted by any incoming email. Oh, I didn't know that. So then they go and try it for another week and they get better at it, but then they get derailed and they come back, where did you get derailed? So I would say it's not complex, but it's also not an easy shift for most people to make, but so worth it. You're going to feel so good when you wake up, you know your targets, you cranked out 2 hours, maybe 4 hours on the stuff that really matters. Everything else after that is gravy.
And that's important. Couple things, because I always say that life is simple, but it's hard. And so it's pretty much what you're saying. When you sit down to do your, and you only need 2 to 4 hours a day, and you are truly cranking out life, is just do the pre-prep work so that when you sit down, everything's ready. You know, it's funny. A lot of times you go into a meeting and everyone says, oh, can you please silence your phone? My phone is always on silent. Unless I know that I'm expecting an important call, then I will turn it on so that I don't miss the call. And I've turned off like most of the notifications. It doesn't buzz when emails occur. Like I've done my best to remove all of those distractions. Same thing with my computers. I've done my best to turn off all distractions. Am I perfect at this? No, I'm still horrible at it. I still struggle with it.
Right. Yeah.
But in spite of that, you know, if I can be good 50, 60, 70, 80% of the time, then I can still get a lot done. And I'm working on improving that constantly. Just let me make a little bit better. Let me make this small tweak so that I can be less distracted by something. So little by little, it's happening.
Yeah. Well, firstly, I'm impressed with you so far. You seem like someone who's really studied important habits and applying them to your life. So I'm impressed by that. And I like that you said that you still struggle with it, because I don't want people to get discouraged and think, all right, I'm going to do this. But I just can't do it. I'm just going to give up. No, this is maybe this is a bad analogy, but it reminds me of 12-step meetings. I've been to quite a few as part of my personal growth training, even though I don't identify as an alcoholic. And you know, their mindset is, look, I'm struggling with this, and I always will be. I won't give up, but it's always going to be a challenge. I think that's a good mindset to take on. Like, all right, with focused action and even the real goals, the real planning, the real action, it's always going to be a challenge, and I'll just keep getting better at it. What I want people to hear is, you know, my pitch is, it's a game worth playing. It's a game worth playing. And what's great too, and we'll get to the fourth step, which is real growth. But these 4 steps can be applied to anything. They can be applied to your business, to your career, or you can apply this to a better relationship with your kid, or exercise, or anything that you want. You can set real goals, create a real plan, and then just make sure that you have focused action. Should we talk about step 4?
We can. Before we do, I'm just going to make one comment along those same lines, because I had someone on a few weeks ago when we had the conversation. And after we recorded, I said to him, how do I get from here to this really high level? And he said, you don't. You get from here to one step better. He said, don't try going to the top. He goes, just do one step every day, or whatever the time period is. Don't try and make this massive jump. Just take the teeny step, and little by little, those steps will add up and they compound. And we talk about compounding. It works for money. It works for skills. It works for life. You just keep showing up. Maybe you have a great outcome today. Maybe you have a bad outcome. It's going to be a roller coaster ride, but just keep showing up.
I love that frame. Rocky, I just got an insight for myself. That's really valuable for me, because I'm applying it right now in my mind to my health issues. I've been, for 12 years, I've had some kind of fatigue, which I don't understand. And I'm often tired, I'm wired. And, I'm setting goals, and I got a plan, and I'm taking action. I'm doing so many things. but I've been getting demoralized. And I think it's because I see the ultimate vision of feeling fully healthy and having lots of energy and sleeping really well, like all of that. And I'm not there. So I feel demoralized. And what you just said, I can apply that baby step formula to my health and look for the small gains. Look for like appreciating that last night I slept well. Today I feel great. Okay, maybe tomorrow I won't, but I can take those wins as encouragement and keep on going along the path instead of going, oh, I haven't reached my ultimate goal. It's just too daunting. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Let's move on to step 4.
Yeah, step 4 is one of my favorites, right? I have to do the first 3 steps because they're so important. They're not rocket science. They're not complex. But if you're missing one of those, again, they're the low-hanging fruit. They're the simple things that you can implement to up-level your life and business. But the 4th one is my favorite. This is real growth. And how perfect that to talk about this on your podcast, which is Life Beyond Money. Let's suppose you do have money handled, then I think it's a no-brainer to go towards growth. How do I grow myself as a human being so that I can up-level my life? And I'll give you some simple things we can look at on how to do that. But there's another reason to look at growth as well. If you grow yourself, you'll actually make more money. Is what I'm proposing, because if you increase your level, and we'll talk about truth, daring, and caring. Let's suppose you become more truthful. Yeah, you're going to make some waves, and some people will gravitate away from you. They'll move away from you. But other people are going to be drawn towards you, and people are going to want to do more business with you. So as you grow yourself by increasing your levels of truth or authenticity, not only does your life get better, but I say that's going to help you in the business world. So, my pitch is focus on the growth. Go and do a course or work with a coach. Listen to podcasts, read books, do what you can to grow yourself, because you're going to get everything out of it. So when I looked at how do we grow, I found 3 specific things that have made a difference to my life. And they're my values, as I'm biased towards them. So those are what I talk about. One is truth. The other is daring. I often regret when I played small and I didn't risk. I rarely regret when I took a risk. Sometimes I do. I took a risk and that didn't work out. But I more often regret the things I didn't risk. So I found when I am daring, I go for that client, or I have that tough conversation that I didn't want to have, or I went for that new business venture, I feel good about myself. Now, as a bonus, I often get a result. Like by being daring, my business gets better or the relationships get better. So I get the result, but I feel good about myself. I get to feel self-expressed. And on my deathbed, I imagine I'll be able to say, I went for it. So I want everyone to increase their levels of truth. Imagine you increased your truth by 30% over the next month, or if you want to go slower, over the next 6 months. Imagine if you increased your levels of daring by 30% over the next 1 to 6 months. Imagine what that would do for your life. And then the third one is caring. I found that if I just go for it gung-ho like the spiritual warrior, and I just go for truth and I go for daring, yeah, that's great. Life gets better, but you risk burnout and you risk losing some relationships. You risk some of your systems falling apart because you didn't put attention on them. So I resist this every time, bringing up the caring, because I feel like truth and daring is so much sexier. But I've learned if you don't actively care for your relationships and your business and your body, then some of those things can whack you over the head and make you care for them once it's a little late. So I finally had to add that in there as a practical matter.
And that's very true. You have to take care of your health, because without your health, everything else falls apart. you have to take care of relationships. I mean, who wants to live alone on an island? It's a pretty boring and dull life. So you've got to build those relationships and you've got to put the effort in, and you should do what you care about, because if you don't care, then why are you showing up and doing it? I mean, it seems like a life not in congruence with what you truly want.
Well, I like that you said it that way, because it gives me a chance to play devil's advocate. I'm going to say I'll take a contrary point of view in that I would suggest you don't have to do these things. You don't have to increase your levels. You don't have to take care of your body. You don't have to take care of your relationships. You can ignore those things and they will call for your attention. And it might be in a very unpleasant way, right? You might have a burnout. You might have a heart attack. You might have your partner break up with you. You could have some nasty things happen, but that will call your attention, and then you'll jump into it and you'll put out fires. So I think that's a valid way to do it. I'm just suggesting, and I bet you are too, Rocky, that by being preemptive and by actually putting attention on these things now, you can save yourself a lot of pain. It's better. It's like with your business. You don't have to put attention on your customers. You just wait till they all leave and then go, all right, now we have to really change what we're doing. You can do it that way. I'm just suggesting you're gonna have better results if you dive into it. And again, how do you do that? Well, you can read books on it. You can listen to podcasts. You can go and do courses, and you can get a coach to dive into these things.
Absolutely. And that's one of the big things I'm working on. I know that people are living longer and longer, and one day I'll be 90, and I don't want to be a 90 that can't get up and live life. And so what do I need to do today for my health to make sure that at 90 and 95, I can still move around and live life to its fullest? And so I show up at the gym every day because that's what I need to do today to ensure success in 40 years from today. And that's fine.
You're
just keep doing it. I'm a planner. I get it done. Today's episode of Richer Soul is brought to you by Profit Comes First. Most business owners focus on top-line revenue, and while that's important, the bottom line, what you take home and what's available to reinvest in the business, is what drives continued long-term success. Hundreds of thousands of companies are using Profit First in their business. You don't have to learn fancy accounting systems or how to read complicated financial statements. You just implement the system and behave much like you currently do. However, you pay yourself first. As a certified Profit First professional, I help entrepreneurs and small business owners to grow their business profitably. Through my coaching and consulting, we ensure your business is on track, and I'm making sure that you keep spending in line, increasing your profitability. Learn more at profitcomesfirst.com or click on the scheduling link in the show notes to book a no-obligation call to see how Profit First can help put more money in your pocket.
I want to make the point too, here I am, an evangelist for growth, but I don't know that most of my clients come to me for that. Mm-mm. They don't wake up one morning and say, oh, I need to grow. Let me get a growth coach. What happens is they've got other desires. I might have a client, he's like, my kid isn't listening to me. He's 16 or 17 and he's preparing for college, but he's not really doing a good job. And I'm just nagging him. How do I handle that? Or they've got an issue. I feel like, I'm scared of speaking on stage. I want to be a better speaker. So they don't come to me for growth, but then we get to apply the growth principles to the issue. All right, my kid's not listening to me. All right, what's the truth for you? Let's look at that, and let's look at how you could share that with him honestly. And that's going to take some courage. So are you willing to be a little daring and be vulnerable? with your kid. So I just want to make that point. If people are thinking, oh, I don't want growth, that's fine. You might have other desires, but just know I'm always going to be angling towards, all right, what's the human element here? And growth is a byproduct.
That is very true, which brings us to the main topic of today's conversation, which is tough conversations. I think your tagline is tough conversations for CEOs, prison inmates, and you. That's a really wide gap that you kind of cover there. Unless you're talking about CEOs in prison, which, then I could get it. But how did you come up with such a wide range of people there to talk about tough conversations?
Well, I'll answer the question. And also I want to say, firstly, it's a perfect segue into this from what we were talking about, because humans aren't walking around going, I want to have tough conversations. I want to master tough conversations. Most people aren't walking around saying that. Again, we're creatures of comfort. So just like most people aren't walking around saying, I really want to grow as a person. What they're saying is, I want what I want. I want my life to be better. I know after 20 years of doing this that growth is the way to get there, and tough conversations are another doorway, a specific doorway that you can get there. But I just want to make that point that I understand that most people aren't walking around going, I really want to have tough conversations. But when they bring a problem to me, we often find that a tough conversation is the way out. So how did I come up with such a gap? Well, I've been focused on high performers for some time. I used to work with a lot of people who are just struggling in many areas of their life, and I found it a bit demoralizing. Like, it's kind of like, I know they need help, but it's not my highest path, I think, to be really working with those people. I identify as a high performer, high achiever, and I'm inspired when I'm talking with someone who's achieved a lot in their life and they're successful in many areas of their life, and maybe there's one problem area, but they just want life to be better. So that inspires me. So I've been going for high achievers, and I'm coaching executives, CEOs, vice presidents, and managers, people at manager level as well. And then I spoke to a new friend who said, oh, I can't do that day. I'm going into a prison. We're teaching authentic relating and tough conversations to prison inmates. And I was like, wow, I've been wanting an opportunity to give more. I felt like I'm so focused on my own life and my own survival and how my life can be better. And when I see other people who are volunteering at soup kitchens and donating money, I'm inspired. So I said, can I get in on that? Because I've been wanting to give, but if I can give around something I really care about, then it's a win-win all around. And he put me in touch with the executive director of the nonprofit, which is, can I give a quick plug for the nonprofit? Sure. They're doing such amazing work in Colorado prisons, authenticrelating.org. And even if you contribute $5 a month, the executive director will be happy. The cost of a latte, you can become a member. And it means that we can go into more prisons and help more inmates. So I went along as an assistant. And then the next one, she said, all right, co-lead it, help us lead this. And so that's why, I throw in the prison inmates, because firstly, it's interesting, right? You got a lot of people pitching you to be on a podcast. And I think it's a point of difference that I not only help CEOs, but I help a wide range of people. That's probably the main reason that I put it in my bio. I want people to go, oh, wait, what's that about? And as it happens, it's the same conversation, right? Prison inmates want to grow. Prison inmates, no one really wants to grow. Most people don't really want to grow, but they want deeper connection. They want their relationships with their family on the outside to be better. They want their leadership skills and their communication skills to be better because they want to get a job and they want to influence people. It's all the same stuff. Sure, we're not going to talk to them about a boardroom meeting or about some staff issues generally, but we're all humans, and I find that I'm recycling the same strategies, whether you're a CEO, an entrepreneur, or a prison inmate. It all comes back to real goals, real plan, real action, and real growth.
And that's very true. I also mentor in a program. It's called Care Court. And basically what happens is when they come out of federal prison, they pretty much say to a certain group of the population who were in for nonviolent offenses, hey, if you'd like to grow and you'd like to make yourself better, there's this different program over here. You have to work a little bit harder. We'll give you mentors and we'll help you grow. In exchange, we'll lessen your probation period. And so we get assigned one-on-one, two-on-one to mentor these people as they come out. And what I have found is that most of them have never had anyone who is there in their life to kind of show them a better way. No one's had their back to say, you can do this. And a lot of things that you and I take for granted that we've been talking about today are foreign concepts to them. And so it's just a different program, and you get a chance to help people kind of take that next step. And also just help connect them with resources and people that will help them grow. I just had one of the people who had graduated through the program called me like right before Christmas. He had this massive problem, and he needed legal help. And most of these guys don't make a lot of money. I was like, hang on. And like within 5 minutes, he was on the phone with an attorney that could help him pro bono. Just making those types of things happen for them is just amazing. So it's a way that I give back as well. So it's really, really cool. And nice. I know that most people don't want to have difficult conversations. I know I don't want to have difficult conversations, but I have noticed that when you put off the conversations, when everyone stays silent or ignores it, the anxiety levels go through the roof and everyone is just on edge. And literally the moment you have the conversations and you have the honesty and you work it out, it's like a balloon deflating. It's like, you know, all the anxiety dissipates and the smiles light up, and it's well worth rewarding, but it's difficult, I think, to take that first step, to have the conversation. And then the second step is having the conversation where it's not a heated conversation, but a conversation that actually resolves and you can get the other point of view. You're the expert in this area, so please do share what you found and how you have these difficult conversations.
Yeah, well, you bring up a really important point, which is, you know, what came up for me listening to that is it's like taking medicine. Sometimes the medicine doesn't taste good, but then you get all these benefits. And exercise can be the same way. Often exercise, you know, feels like hard work and you get sweaty and, you know, some people don't enjoy it, but they'll do it because of the benefits. Cold plunges, right? Shocking to the system. It's not a lot of fun, but we'll do these crazy things. Tough conversations are the same way. So you take the pain up front. I've got a conversation tomorrow, which could be difficult with my assistant. I'm upset about something that she did and she's feeling a bit awkward and I don't really want to have the conversation. But I tell you what, I don't want more than that. I don't want to feel awkward. I don't want to feel awkward for the next few months or years. So I believe 9 times out of 10 in my experience, it's worth it to have the conversation. Now, how do you have it? I'll give you the short version, and you guys can download the blueprint at my website so you don't have to remember all this. But the short version, so that it's not a train wreck, is ask for permission, have the conversation, share one hope that you have out of having the conversation and one fear. This is what I'm worried might happen if I bring this up. Share the issue and your request. I found that hard. Like, oh, what is my request? I really just want to complain. No, come up with a request. And then the last step, super important, get curious and listen. How is it for you to hear this? What do you think? Do you have a better idea than what I have? Let's work this out together.
That sounds like an excellent framework.
Yeah. The problem that I'm coming up against is, I love teaching this tough conversations, and that's great if someone has one, right? If your listeners are thinking, yeah, I already have one, then this is useful. But for many people, the mind doesn't present you with your tough conversations. It buries them. So what you can do, here's another exercise that I highly recommend, super simple, pen and paper, write down, ask yourself, who don't I feel 100% wonderful with? Who am I not just loving and everything's perfect with? Just write it down. Another way to ask that is, who might I sometimes complain about or gossip about? And then write a list. And then next to that, what's the issue? My boss is a little bit condescending. My kid, I've got this. My partner, well, yeah, I've kind of got a withhold or a secret, something I've never really confessed. Okay, just do this. I'm not saying you have to have all these conversations, but this is how you start to identify where the opportunities are. And you might circle one or two of the easier ones and go and practice with that. You don't have to take on the big ones yet. You work up to it.
And that's like exercise, right? You start with an empty bar. Yep. You try the easy things. You go have the no risk, difficult conversations that no matter what the outcome, it's okay, right? Because it's really not going to change your life. And that kind of helps you to build up the muscle to have even tougher conversations. And
exactly. And here's another way to sell it, because I want to sell tough conversations because I believe it'll change the world. It'll change your life. Another way to sell it is, this is leadership training. When you go and have those conversations that are a little bit awkward, you are demonstrating leadership abilities, because good leaders will have these conversations and it influences and changes the outcome. Bad leaders or people without leadership skills won't do anything. I'll just sit passively and, it'll just go away. I'm not going to do anything about that. So this is a sexy way to sell this. Is like, this is leadership training. You can develop your skills by practicing these conversations and you become a better human being.
So I've heard you say this, and it's funny because you've constantly been playing the opposite side of this throughout, but you say that playing it safe is dangerous. What do you mean by that?
Here's an example with tough conversations. Often people think, I won't bring it up because I want to preserve the relationship. I don't want to rock the boat. But trying to preserve the relationship can actually destroy the relationship, because you're trying to play safe, but the danger is that your resentment will build over time. If I don't bring up something with you, Rocky, then I'm going to feel less close to you. I'm going to be less inclined to work with you. I'm not going to speak as highly about you. And actually, our relationship suffers. And ultimately, I might just not work with you, or I'll just drift away because I'm unhappy about something, but I haven't known how to bring it up. Generally in life, when we want to play safe, like I won't be daring, I won't go for that, I won't ask that woman out, I won't ask that celebrity to endorse my product. We're playing it safe because we don't want that discomfort. We don't want that potential feeling of rejection. But then on your deathbed, looking back, I believe that's when you're going to go, I've got regrets. So it looks like it's being really safe, but it's actually dangerous because your life suffers. I believe your life needs your full self-expression, and that's going to require some daring and some risk-taking. And if you play it safe, I say it's dangerous.
And I agree with that. You do have to take chances and try different things, because life is never safe. Unfortunately, right? We all have to hit the storms, and we have to deal with the tougher things that come up.
Yep.
So you talk about 9 types of tough conversations. Do you want to just touch on that briefly to say, what are the different kinds of tough conversations that are out there?
Yeah. Well, I looked into leadership and what are some of the growth skills that make a great leader? Someone that I would want to follow, someone that you would want to follow. I identified 9 areas, and each of those areas can be a tough conversation. So one of the qualities or skills of real leadership is a reveal. A reveal is revealing something about yourself that's a little bit vulnerable. Like let's say your staff are worried about something that's happened in the company, and you say, you know what, I get that you're worried. I'm worried too. That's a reveal. Or if your partner's, you say your wife or your husband is angry at you and they're kind of yelling, you could address the content of what they're saying, or you might reveal, wow, I notice my heart's racing right now as I hear you, and I feel like I'm kind of in fight or flight mode. I could run away or attack. That's a reveal. So that's one example. Another example of real leadership is accountability. Holding people accountable. So someone said they'll meet you at 7:00 and they show up at 7:10. Are you going to have that conversation? Are you going to address it? Or are you going to just let it slide? Holding people accountable is a leadership quality, and there's another tough conversation. Then there's holding yourself accountable, and we can call this integrity. If you say, I'm going to get that report to you tomorrow, and I recommend something like by 5:00 tomorrow, like be specific, and you don't do it, you're just going to let that slide? Or are you going to hold yourself accountable and reach out and say, I blew that. I want to clean that up. I recommit, and I've set alarms and I've got support on it. You can count on this being getting to you by 3:00 tomorrow. And I want to check, what's the impact of this being late? Does it matter? Has it inconvenienced you? I'd like to hear how it's impacted you. So there are three examples off the top of my head of real leadership, or what I like to call inside-out leadership. And each one of those points towards a tough conversation, sometimes with yourself.
And we have to have tough conversations with ourselves. That's the hardest one, right? The reflection in the mirror.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you wanted to share on the subject of tough conversations but didn't get a chance to?
Yeah, I'd say something that's close to my heart right now is I've been working with individuals for a long time, one-on-one, working with leaders. And just recently, I've realized, how cool would it be if everyone in a company, let's say you've got a company of 5 people, you've got a company of 50 or 500. What if everyone in the company, whenever they've got an issue with somebody and they don't know how to handle it, they might even be embarrassed about it. They don't want to talk to their boss about it. What if they had access to coaching? A one-off session just in time where they could talk to a third party about it confidentially and say, yeah, like my boss is driving me nuts, or my coworker is driving me, like, how do I handle this? And we identify the tough conversation, role play it, and then they go back out into the company and they get to be expressed and be a leader and actually address it. So I've launched a new service called Tough Conversations Coaching for companies and teams, and I'm very excited about that. So I want to give a plug for that. If you have a company and you're thinking, yeah, I want my staff to be speaking up more. I don't want them to sweep these things under the carpet, and I want them to speak up because it's going to cost me money if they don't speak up. Ultimately, you're going to lose them, and you won't even know why. They'll just quit, and you didn't even see it coming. But this service can prevent that. I want people to know that now exists, because I'm very excited about it.
And so the one thing is, if you're running the company and you do this, you have to listen to what they say. You're going to have to take it in stride, and that's part of it. And I think that's an area that some people struggle. They want the outcome, but they don't want to hear the answers that may come up from the employees. So you have to be open to hearing the answer.
Yeah, you can try and avoid all this stuff, which is human nature, I think. Try and avoid all this stuff and then have it bite you on the ass later. And I think it's going to be very expensive. Or start to create a culture where people speak up, and they speak up artfully and they speak up kindly. And they're like, I have an issue with this. Let's talk about it. And I think that'll bear fruit. Sometimes it'll rock the boat a bit and it'll be a little bit awkward, but wouldn't it be better to just rip the Band-Aid off, have it be awkward up front, and then have it be great, rather than have it be awkward over time for a long time and then people ultimately quit or they sabotage results. So, yeah.
Definitely. So, based on our conversation, what's one action step people can take this week to move forward?
What's been coming up for me, I don't know that I've said this I've done 70 interviews last year, and I never said this, but what comes up for me in this interview is, what do you really want? And another way of putting that is, how could your life be better? Take even 5 minutes. You could be driving, you can be walking, or you can just pull out a pen and paper right now, or your app that you use. How could your life be better? And just write down 2 or 3 things that would make it better. I think that's an exercise that could really make a difference. And then that's the real goals part. And then the real plan, the next step would be, how am I going to make this happen? You might have enough support and resources already that this is just going to happen once you identify it. Or you might go and get some resources I keep coming back to coaching because I don't know of anything that's really stronger. So you might decide to work with a coach on it, but start with, what do you really want?
And I think that's excellent advice. Until we know what we want, it's hard to get it.
Yeah.
It's time to learn the secrets of life. What's your secret to living an abundant life?
Increasing my levels of truth, daring, and caring. As I get more authentic, I believe that there's more abundance. As I get more daring, more things come to me. And as I get more caring, my connections deepen, which I think is ultimately what we're about.
Building those relationships, that's inspiring. What did you learn later in life that you wished you would have learned sooner?
Break your patterns. I wish I'd gone and done a really immersive personal growth course, one that's designed to disrupt how I think and feel. I wish I'd done that earlier because it changed the whole trajectory of my life. And I did that at age 26, and I wish I'd done it at 16.
And Landmark has a program for kids. I tried to get one of my kids to go, but it never worked out. So eventually they'll get there.
Yeah, I had to be really committed with my family. I never got my dad there, but I got my brother and my mother there, and they were both grateful. But I had to really be a stand over 2 years, and it finally happened. But, if you want to get your kid to go to Landmark, first thing you're going to have to do is do Landmark.
I get it. And there's a lot of things we've been. My daughter has been to a ton of different programs, similar to Landmark, but different. Now, our big issue now is time, with college and all the running around. So it's more finding the space. And we'll do it. It'll happen. It's a matter of time.
I say to my clients, sometimes when you're drowning, you still have to carve out time to learn how to swim.
That you do. What's one piece of wisdom you would give to an 18-year-old?
It'd be the same. Go and do a personal growth course. Get yourself into Landmark. I could give you 20 other pieces of advice, but you go and do something like that, you're going to come out changed and with new habits and practices, which you get to keep forever. So again, that's the low-hanging fruit. That
it is. So if people would like to find you and connect, learn more about your services, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, thank you. The way to find me is to go to playforreal.life. It's not a .com. Some people make that mistake. It's playforreal.life. And I have an invitation. If something resonated for you in this interview, like if you're listening to me going, this guy's a jerk, then okay, this isn't for you. But if you heard something like, yeah, there are some things here that could really make a difference to my life and business, then I invite you to request a discovery session with me, because I want to find out what you really want. And in that session, we'll set some real goals for you and come up with the first draft of a plan of how you're going to get there. And for some people, that's the end of it. They've got everything they need and we can't see how coaching is going to make an impact, and we're done. For other people, sometimes we can both see, okay, coaching could have a really big impact on this. Let's give it a whirl for a month and see if we're right. So if you qualify for a discovery session, I don't charge for it, because firstly, it's fun for me. And secondly, it's how I find the right people to work with long term. So I'd really encourage you to do that if something resonated for you during this call. And again, you can do that, and you can download the blueprint that I mentioned for tough conversations at playforreal.life. And one other thing, I forget sometimes, I'm the proud father of a baby podcast called Tough Conversations with David Wood. So if you want to listen to me as well as listen to Rocky, then you can subscribe at the same website, playforreal.life.
Thank you. And we'll put that in the show notes so it makes it easy to find you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great conversation.
Rocky, I really enjoyed this, and I'm like just starting to get to know you a little better. I rarely listen to a host and go, wow, this guy's got a lot going on.
Thank you. I am highly appreciative of the feedback. Based on your current situation, would you die with regrets? I won't. So what are you going to do to ensure you're regret-free? I suggest you get a coach. Me, David, someone else. Sign up for a program. I'm also happy to have a discovery session with you as well. It's free. I don't sell people on working with me. It has to be a hell yes on your side and mine. But you need to get help, and you need people in your life who can help push you forward. That ties in with this week's action step. What do you really want? How could your life be better? And how are you going to make this happen? None of us want to die with regrets. None of us want to have tough conversations. None of us want to do all the work. But if you want to live that great life, then you've got to go for it. If you're still listening, you must have liked today's episode. So please share it with a few friends. It can start a great conversation instead of a tough one. I'd appreciate it. You can also connect on the Facebook page or Facebook group for Richer Soul. Stop by and say hi. What's preventing you from moving forward, and who are you putting on your team to help build the life you deserve? Regret-free. Taking no action creates a far worse outcome than trying something and failing or not having that conversation. Can I help you achieve your goals through coaching accountability? Email me. Let's start with a short chat to see if we're a good fit. For many people, one session allows them to take a giant leap forward towards their dreams. You can get me at rocky@richersoul.com or use the scheduling link in the show notes. I'd love to hear how you're doing and how the information I've shared has helped. Thanks for listening. Have an abundant week. And here's to clarity, Vision 2020 for the year.